it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. As one of my lights just turned itself off as the podcast started, and just like Aston Villa in the second half, I'm playing a man down at the moment. I think with that light going out, I'm going to see if I'll leave it off. Gives it a kind of an air of a bit of spookiness to the podcast. But look, Aston Villa lose 3-1 to Newcastle United. Definitely a game of two halves. Aston Villa, very, very, from my view, look, spoiler alert, I'd love to win the FA Cup, but I think the riches and spoils that Aston Villa need to be getting this season need to be got in different competitions. I think the league is just paramount for absolutely everything at the moment, and not having cup games can potentially help that. But talking about the game itself, on the merits of the game, I genuinely believe that the first 46 and a half minutes before Marco Bizzat came out of his goal and took down Jacob Murphy, I thought that it was a really good performance in that first half. I thought Tammy Abraham looked lively. I thought the referee got some really, really strange decisions wrong, and obviously the goal that Tammy got was offside. But I thought that the balance of the team was pretty good, and I thought that we performed really well. And then we get that man sent off, and start the second half. Then it's a completely different game. First 20 minutes of the second half, first 18 minutes of the second half, because they scored in the 63rd. I thought we were holding our own as well. I thought we were doing grand. Ball obviously gets crossed in from was it Harvey Barnes? That was a stonewall penalty for Luca Dean. I've got my views on whether they are actually handballs. They are in 2026, but whether they should be handballs, I don't know. But based on the rules that we currently have, that's a definite penalty. The referee makes an absolute nonsense of that, and I think there's going to be a lot of column inches written about this game based on the fact that referees are afraid now to make decisions since VAR has come in, and it's probably taken away a lot of the skill sets that referees may have had in the past and made them too reliant on it. But that's not for this podcast, I don't think. But essentially, after we conceded that first goal to Sandro Tonali, we really did kind of we conceded basically more than just a goal. We conceded momentum. We conceded any grit and determination and energy we had. And then personally, I felt when we went 2-1 down, I didn't know how we were going to claw it back. I just didn't see us being able to do that. Now, saying that, we did have some forays forward. I thought Jadon Sancho was lively when he came on. I thought Maatsen was lively when he came on. And we did fashion some opportunities. Sancho had a shot that was blocked, I think. Buendia was lively as well when he came on. And I thought potentially, we might have one chance, two chances, maybe to snatch a draw and take it into extra time. But then we get into that muddle in the right-hand corner down near our own goals. And Lamar Bogart twice, I think it was him anyway, definitely once, but potentially twice passes that ball back in towards the goals. And there were errant passes. And then Voltemade just has to get on the end of it and toe pokes it past Emiliano Martinez as well. And then we go down 3-1. And the whole complexion of the game at that stage is just like it's deflation. It's there's definitely no way back after that. But so my thoughts in this game are kind of twofold. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with the fact that you could write that once we went to 1-1, that we were probably going to lose the game. And there was shades of that from almost immediately after we conceded that goal. I put up a tweet saying that I was frustrated with Douglas Luiz's defending for the two goals. And look, I know the first one Tonali hits, it ricochets off him. He's a good bit away from where the shot is taken. I just suppose I expect him for that one and for the second one. I just suppose I expect him to be further outside his box. I thought he was defending too deep. I thought that was probably symptomatic of a couple of players as well, specifically for those for those two goals. I thought we were kind of caught very deep. We were all inside the box, and while it's not egregious, you know, Tonali's just scored one from outside the box, and somebody should be really out there because he was going to have another crack and see if it ricocheted off anybody. You know, it didn't ricochet the second one; it went directly in, and you know that was very deflationary for me. I think because that was like obviously when he scored that second goal, and it was, I'm not going to say carbon copy, but it was extremely similar to the first goal that they had scored. You know, that was the most disappointing thing for me. It was really the most disappointing thing for me. Um, I'd love to have seen how this game went if we stayed with 11 men because I think we were very much in control of it at the very start of the game. I do. I genuinely believe that in the first half we were in control of the game. We had, there was some players like Leon Bailey wasn't playing particularly well. At times he was letting the ball go past him and stuff like that. But I thought in the main there was some really great green shoots there with Rogers and Abraham and Abraham and Dion Bailey as well linking up there. I thought Abraham's first touch layoffs and he's just all around general centre forward play was just bloody brilliant in the first 20 minutes, first half an hour of the game. Thought it was superb. It really was. The goal he scored as well, I know, albeit being offside, and you know, linesmen should catch that as well. Like that was, he was a decent bit offside there, you know, in the modern game. He was a decent bit offside. You should be catching that, linesman, but he didn't. And I thought his finish was really good. And I thought the way that we worked that free kick was really good. It was a brilliant lofted ball over by Douglas Luiz. I don't think Douglas Luiz was poor in this game at all, specifically in the first half. I don't think he was poor. I don't think anybody was exceedingly poor in that first half, albeit that probably Bailey stood out to me as somebody who we need to just see more from again. But definitely when we go down to 10 men, that takes the sting out of us big style. And we didn't really have any leader that was going to take it by the scruff of the neck. And again, I go back to it. Of the three that we're missing, I think is in a game like this, if it's Kamara, if it's Tielemans, or if it's McGinn that you want on the field in an instance like this, it's John McGinn is the one that we miss the most when we have a situation like that. When the players, after we go to 1-1, you could kind of see they felt the writing was on the wall that it was going to be 2-1. Newcastle's players thought that they were going to come back and win, so they would complete another momentum shift. And that's on 63 minutes as well. So we've done pretty decently, you know, for 18 minutes, keeping them out. This ball comes back in. It's a deflected goal. Nothing Martinez could do. But, you know, there should be really a kind of a hunkering down at that stage. But then we concede a very similar goal to it then afterwards. And then, look, the third goal is what it is. It was calamitous. Really was calamitous. The third goal was the amount of passing around the back line. And you could argue that we were the reason that we conceded. Like, don't get me wrong, Tonali's strike for the second one was absolutely superb. Tonali's strike for the first one, I think, probably wasn't going in, but it does take that deflection and that takes it in. And they should have had that penalty. But we were the architects of our downfall in the third goal. We were the architects of our downfall in the first goal, to a degree whereby nobody really makes that run out towards Tonali. And I think if you do, you know, try and do that, potentially the ball doesn't travel as far as it does before it takes the deflection. And then the second goal, then look, it's nitpicking, but it's very similar to the goal that Tonali scored previously. And I think we should have learned from that situation and not given him another sighter again. But Villa losing 3-1, like it was in a funny way about it after that first half. If you just watch the first half, you'd say Villa didn't deserve to lose 3-1 in that game. The ref got a couple of things wrong, absolutely. And the goal should have been, like, the goal would have been ruled out by VAR. But then the second half, you know, with 10 men, Villa just were not able to play with 10 men at all. And they did show some bright sparks when they went 2-1 down with the attacking intent of Sancho. And Sancho playing a bit more centrally, I thought was really interesting. And I actually I liked Sancho's cameo tonight. And I like Matsson's cameo a bit further forward. We're seeing that more and more often, that cameo from Maatsen a bit further forward. So I wonder what Unai has in store for that, or if it's a case of just being a numbers game at the moment that he has to bring him on in that position. But look, the main takeaway, I suppose, here again is that, you know, when we went 1-1 down, 1-1 first, and then subsequently 2-1 down, there was a kind of a lack of somebody putting their finger on the scale and saying, lads, calm it down here. I think if John McGinn would have really settled things there, it would have been somebody that might have been able to get that ball and try and bring it forward, take it into the corner, just get it away from our goals. A bit more of a settling influence. Didn't think we had that after we went down to 10 men, and then we went down, then went 1-1, and then subsequently 2-1. Look, as I say, if the third goal was just a normally scored third goal, it wouldn't irk me at all. But it was just a bad goal to concede. It looked calamitous, and it was calamitous. And look, I think that's really going to sour a lot of people's tastes for this game, because look, I wanted to win. I want to win a cup. I want to win an FA Cup. Absolutely, I really, really do. But I think I think one of the biggest things here is that like the whole game does change, does turn on the red card. It was a stonewall of a red card as well. I'm not convinced he needed to come out. I think if he kind of more or less stands his ground, doesn't rush Jacob Murphy there, if he's not as far out from his goal at all, potentially there was somebody coming back there, but I take my chances at that. And to be honest, I would have much preferred to be 1-1 going in at halftime with 11 men than being 1-0 up with only 10, because as I say, the proof was in the pudding. Once we went out to try and defend backs to the wall with only 10 men. I don't think we had the personnel in the field that had the kind of the steely determination to do it. And we ended up losing 3-1. So look, hindsight is always 20/20 and stuff like that. And hindsight is going to be the aim of the game here. But at the end of the day, it's a deserved win for Newcastle based on that second half performance. It's also a deserved win, I think, for Newcastle as well, because like how many things did the referee get wrong in our favor and against them today? Was like there was at least 3 situations. Digne may have gotten a red card before Bizak got a red card. The penalty that should have been a penalty for the handball from Digne. And then obviously the Tammy Abraham goal. And they're 3 big calls that the referee got wrong in real time, and without VAR, he just completely made a mess of those decisions. Yeah, not one we're going to remember too fondly. Newcastle fans sang their hearts out afterwards, when they went 3-1 up. It was obviously Villa Park emptied out on a cold Valentine's night. Lots of people probably had better things to go and do at that stage. But look, it's a game in the cup with we had lots of control in this game up to going down 10 men. I think there's a lot of context in that. But saying that, Unai Emery will be disappointed that we didn't seem to be able to do anything, or to be able to, I suppose, defend resolutely more so than not do anything with only 10 men in that second half, because it was a bit of a capitulation in that second half, specifically after we went 1-1, which you don't want to see at this time at this stage of the season. You don't want to see that, regardless of it being a cup competition or not. I'm going to come to some of your comments there before I wrap it up here, guys. I'm not going to go too in depth in this one. Obviously, you guys saw the same game I did, and I would imagine that the feeling is very annoyed after that game as well. Where else are we? For one of the first things I see here is I'm liking Sancho and Matson, to be honest. Lindelof looks solid as well. I thought the 3 of those players played pretty good. And this is a good point as well. Chris Goldsmith says, I'm not going to be too harsh on Bizot. Bailey turnover had him in a terrible situation. Yeah, that turnover should never happen. Should never, ever, ever happen. And that's why, like, you can't... look, won't go in on it too much, but that turnover shouldn't happen. Like, if Villa are to be serious, if we're to be serious about controlling games and stuff like that, you can't be that loose with the ball. You can't. So put us in a difficult situation. I think Unai Emery probably understood it as well, because when Bizak came off, Emery kind of, he gave him a pat in the back and he kind of gave him a nod of the head, and then he went over to look at the video afterwards. But yeah, look, going down to 10 men certainly didn't help us. Whoever's fault it was, I think that's for damn sure. Be Happy says, 11 versus 11, we do them. Yeah, I think so for sure. Sniff Rat says, just need the Champions League place. It's always been about the Champions League place. Like this is great. Like I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say I'm fair pissed off now that we're out of the FA Cup, because I've been saying it. I said it before the Spurs game. Like I'm not too like I want to win the FA Cup. I think it's the most beautiful competition the way that it's played. But the club, for our future prospects, winning the FA Cup ain't where the hill beans for our future prospects. It's great to have silverware. Don't get me wrong. I'm not denigrating that. I want to win silverware. Don't want that to be taken out of context. If we want to see sustained success for Aston Villa Football Club, currently, financially is what we need to. Financially is where we need to improve, and the way to do that is getting in the top 5 positions in the Premier League. Period. End of story. That's it. There's just no other way of doing it, and we can't just pump money into the club at all. We don't have a good enough sponsorship base. We can't go out and get a 60 million a year sponsor because we don't have the success that some other clubs have, and we don't have the London basis that other clubs have. It has to be financial. It has to come from the Champions League, and it's a pain in the arse. It's an absolute pain in the hole, because it means that we have to pick between the joy of winning an FA Cup or finishing 5th. And as I've always said before, I've always said this because my dad always said it, was you can't drink out of 4th place. You can drink out of a cup, and everybody remembers drinking out of the cup because it's great. And that's the way football has gone now. It's kind of turned you against cups. First of all, it started with, the League Cup's a Mickey Mouse Tin Pot Cup. Bullshit. The League Cup is as valuable a cup as any other. And teams should be encouraged to win that. But remember, like there's always been that kind of, well, I suppose really since the turn of the 2000s, there's been that kind of, you only won a Mickey Mouse Cup. Not about Aston Villa winning it in the 90s or anything like that. But that's a denigration of the League Cup. I think the League Cup is, any silverware is good silverware. But the problem here now at the moment is what do the financial riches come with that cup, should I say, for the club? And that's the bollocks of football at the moment. It really is, if you'll excuse my language. So here we go. Sniffrat says at least no injuries, none that we know of. Yeah, look, so that's a positive. I think if you want to take that. Villa's channel says we lack physical strength and it's a big problem. I don't think it was the reason we didn't win this. I agree with you when Bings isn't on the field. I don't think it was a problem in this game. And I don't know, do I agree with you in the first half either, because I think Tammy Abraham was very physical up front, but we did, I think Onana, for the size of him, doesn't get his body in there. I think Kamara is much better at getting his body on the line. And we missed John McGinn. We missed John McGinn's physical presence as well, even though it's him that's drawing fouls. There's still a physical presence there. So I do agree with you. In the main, Villa's channel, in the main, I do. Where else are we? Scrolling here, some 3 shots on target, 3 goals. Yeah, that's it. Russell Dent says Martin is to blame for the first 2 goals. Maybe you could blame him for, I think it might be harsh to blame him for the punch that he had, because he was on a lot of bodies when he got that punch. I do think that he gets it far enough away that we should be able to get out to it quicker. He certainly couldn't do anything about the deflection, but I'd forgotten actually about that sequence where I don't think he can catch the ball anyway in that instance. I'll watch it back again. I could be completely wrong on that. I don't think he can catch it. I'm not sure he could have done much better with excuse me, with the punch. But yeah, I'm willing to watch that back again. I'd forgotten all about that. Forgotten about his the fact that he had to punch the ball out for the first one as well. User BR5IN4DD4N says this is the easiest I've taken a defeat all season. Gives us 11 days off leading up to the United game. You know what? I did. That crossed my mind absolutely at full time, because I looked at the fixtures, and after we went 2-1 down, I looked at our upcoming fixtures, and I looked for when the next FA Cup match was. And I'm glad you put that in there, and I'm glad I stumbled upon it, because I'd forgotten all about it. And the one thing I did say was, this gives us a decent rest, or a decent few days off leading up to the Man United game. So That is a positive, albeit I know we shouldn't be talking about us wanting to lose games because we want, winning is a habit and winning success breeds success, all that things. And hey, remember what I spoke about there a moment ago about sponsorships? You win an FA Cup, you win a Europa League, and you get into the Champions League on merit. I can guarantee you there'll be sponsors knocking down the door of B6 looking to sponsor us next year. So, a cup will bring some eyes to the team as well. But that is one scant cancellation, I think, is what I would call it. But I'm glad you mentioned it there because I would have forgot to say it as well on the podcast. Where else are we? Um, mm, 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 are we? Yeah, I think there's a couple of people I think a couple of people might have an argument. I don't know. I'm just scanning through the comments here as well. Listen, look, I'm going to leave the rest of the comments there. Thanks so much, guys, for popping in. Look, apologies. I can't. We're not talking about a win in this instance. I don't know why I'm apologizing. I suppose, look, I'll apologize on the players' behalf that we're not talking about a win in this instance. But concentration has to go towards Leeds now next weekend, and we will hopefully be getting like the word or people seem to be talking about McGinn coming back for the first week in March, however that happened, which would be absolutely amazing. So we keep our eyes, ears, and everything else peeled for that if we do get any more news on that. And I think, look, as those players start to matriculate back into the team again, that can only be a positive for our squad. Number one, our squad health, and also the options that we have. But look, today wasn't our day. It's frustrating. I'm actually frustrated at the manner in how we conceded the 3 goals. But we have to look forward towards Leeds now, and Leeds has to be the priority going forward. And then every Premier League game has to be the priority going forward until we get back into Europe again. So just make hay while the sun shines in there, and fingers crossed we can get Champions League towards the end of the season. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys. Chat to you again very, very soon. I think I might get Paddy on I think I might have Paddy coming on Monday again to talk about this game and just talk about a couple of other things. We've forgotten a couple of questions from people that we thought that we wanted to answer to. But we'll try and fill something in there and then be back for previews and everything like that for the Leeds game. But listen, it's Valentine's Day. Go out, enjoy yourself if that's what you do. Or crack open a bottle of wine, whatever, and sit down and enjoy whatever you can for the rest of the afternoon. It wasn't Villa's day, but hopefully our days will get better in the league as we go through the rest of the month of February and into March. See you soon, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, even in defeat, up the Villa.